On today's show, we'll break down what was a good process but a bad result in a 3-1 Sens loss to the New Jersey Devils.
The Ottawa Senators are hoping to get back in the win column at the CTC as they welcome the Tampa Bay Lightning for a Saturday matinee match.
We'll get into all that, plus the big question, where is Linus Ullmark? That's all coming up on today's Locked On Sens.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. You can also follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. You can find us free and available everywhere you get podcasts, including on YouTube, where a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today is Friday, October 18th. Pillsy, I already got all my takes out. How are you feeling out of last night's loss to New Jersey?
Well, just like we talked about in the intro, Ross, this is one of those games where the process wasn't the problem. It seemed like the Sens were in this game the whole time. A couple pucks off the posts. If those go in, it's a much different game. And Anton Forsberg certainly was not the issue or the main reason why this team lost. And look, a 3-1 loss to a team as good as the New Jersey Devils, that's going to happen. So I think you're looking at that game, and it's a good bounce back effort from the Ottawa Senators, but unfortunately they can't get it done and they can't get the dub.
So funny to call it a bounce back effort coming off a win and then you lose, right? And it is a results driven business. So I understand why the comments on last night's postcast were so much of, come on, you got to find a way to win. I get that. But where the Senators were at in terms of their first period, that should be the blueprint of how they play hockey. They were fast. They were hard on pucks. They were forechecking. They were making connection passing plays, which hadn't been the case on Monday. It was a lot of one and dones in the offensive zone. I thought they were moving the puck well. If Sanderson's toe drag shot goes 2 inches to the left, the crowd probably gets into it a little bit more as well. Just unfortunate the way this game played out. You got to, though, tip your hat some games to the New Jersey Devils. They played lockdown hockey once they got up 2-0. You can really sum this game up in two parts. The second period power play where Ottawa gives up a shorthanded goal. They looked awful on the power play first. Yep. Pinto and Giroux just could not make plays together smartly. So Giroux then tries to put a backhand feed to his defenseman. It goes the other way, 2-on-1 short side and blocker side past Anton Forsberg. And then the second one, it's 2-0 going into the third. You're looking for any bit of life. I thought they came out and they hit in the first 2 minutes of the period. And then that Tyler Kleven backdoor shot stopped by Markstrom. That was all the momentum that New Jersey needed to carry this one home.
Yeah, that was easily the save of the game. I mean, it would have been nice to see Kleven get on the board with a nice goal there, but that was a great save from Markstrom. And that's where the New Jersey Devils, much like the Ottawa Senators, they knew they had to find the number one goalie, and they got their number one goalie, and he was able to play last night. Unfortunately, Linus Ullmark did not play last night. We're hoping he's going to play tomorrow, but it can be as simple as that, Ross. Like, you hit a couple posts, a goalie makes a massive save in an opportune time, and a 3-1 game, although it doesn't look great on the score sheet, really, that was a lot closer than it probably looked from a 3-1 perspective.
Another good sign is Anton Forsberg was back on his game. I thought he looked a little shaky at times, and I think that's a confidence thing where he made a couple saves. There was one where it was a side door shot, and he went down on one knee, and it was under him. But after a split second, he started like spinning and looking behind him. I thought he was going to put it into his own net. And in the third period, there were a couple where he makes a save, and he's panicking. He's looking around. You need the calm, cool, collected demeanor in the crease. And we do just finish practice right now for the Sens. So we will hopefully find out sooner rather than later. Travis Green expected to speak to the media in a matter of minutes. So in the next couple segments, we'll get to that and our weekend preview. The fourth line looked good. I thought they generated some offense again. They were 11 shot attempts for, only 3 against when they were on the ice in their 6 minutes. and 24 seconds in last night's game. I thought there were glimpses from the other lines, but I would also be very okay if the Senators decided to shuffle the deck a little bit here, add a little bit more speed onto the line with Tim Stützle, maybe a Michael Amadio up there, just to kind of change things up a little bit, because right now, the way it is, it's not working consistently throughout the game enough. And like, I know I'm kind of contradicting myself in terms of they had moments in that game where they were good, but individually, I think some of the veterans, Giroux, Perron, namely, I'd like to see a little bit more from them in terms of being difference makers all over the ice. So if Travis Green decides to switch the lines up, we'll see tomorrow, because today at practice, there's some guys missing. Shane Pinto was not at practice. Thomas Chabot was not at practice. Those are the two kind of eyebrow raisers. We knew that Ridley Gregg, Artem Zub remained out of the lineup. That's a lot of regulars that a lot of teams are already dealing with, though. So there's no excuses, right? The Florida Panthers have been playing without Matthew Tkachuk and Sasha Barkov to start the season, right? Yeah. Last year, they had to do it without all their defensemen injured after their cup run. And
Vasilevsky was out last year for him,
in Tampa, yeah. And then 2 years ago, remember McAvoy and Marchand missed the first couple months of the season. Yeah. It's a next man up league, and the Senators are just going to have to find that one or two plays that make a difference in the game.
Well, Ross, you talk about next man up. Let's keep Alfie in the lineup here. He was doing line rushes in Pinto's place. He looks like he still got it. He wasn't a step behind at all. And when you see Alfie taking shots on the goalies, he still got it. So let's get that contract done. Don't switch. Player coach Daniel Alfredson, third line. Let's go.
Yeah, put him in. Why not? I heard number 11 is available just for him. Our guy Alex Adams posting the video. So if you're watching on YouTube, shout out Alex Adams. Alfie just smooth over the blue line and doing his thing out there as the assistant coach of this team. But look, Pilsy, this game to me, it came down to just that one play. So we'll see if the Senators can fix that on Saturday. We said it's going to be best of 7 series to start the season. Senators tied at 2 with a divisional home game against an undefeated Tampa Bay Lightning team coming to town. Now, unlike the New Jersey Devils, last night it was the Devils' 7th game of the season, league leading. The Tampa Bay Lightning are the second fewest games in the league. They've only played 3. So it's Ottawa's 5th game.
They've won all 3 of them.
Tampa has, yeah. They sure have, with a +7 goal differential. Last night, they were down a goal to Vegas with 3.5 minutes left. They tie the game with 3 minutes left and win it in the final minute to get a regulation victory. The Tampa Bay Lightning, just that's the difference between a winning team and a team that can. It's how deep can you dig to get those 2 points?
Well, Ross, I'll take what you said and alter it a little bit. That's the difference between a winning culture, right? Like that team knows how to win, and they've still got the guys. Sure, Steven Stamkos, arguably the franchise's greatest player, is not there anymore, but you cannot downplay these Tampa Bay Lightning. They still have Kucherov. They still have Point. They still have Vasilevsky. They still have Hedman. Like, this team is still stacked with players that have been there, done that, and know how to get it done. So just because it seems like with Stamkos gone and the Sergachev trade and having to maneuver things around to fit in the cap, you cannot take this team lightly.
No, there's no way you can. And Ottawa played Tampa real well at the end of last season, and I think they have had some success at home. We were boots on the ground when the Sens lit them up 2 seasons ago in April, where they got a 7-2 victory in that game. But there's also been some ugly ones. I feel like more of the ugly ones are in Tampa. I know they got the win in Tampa late last year, but there's been some ugly ones down there. It's a home game, and if you're going to the game, bring your voice with you, bring your hands, and put them together. Clap, because last night we talked to Martian boots on the ground in the postcast, and it was a sleepy crowd. And these early midweek games, no excuses, but it's a little bit
Thursday.
tougher.
If this was Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, that's fine. Thursday nights, you're
Thursday
starting to get rowdy for the weekend.
After a long weekend, though, right? You got the leftover turkey eaten Tuesday, Wednesday. Might just need a little rest, but no excuses. The Ottawa Senators need to have a better result on Saturday, right? Like, it's a results business, and I think that should be the only message from Travis Green. How they get there, That's up to the players. But they were down 3-0, right? It's a 2-goal game by the end of it. But when you score on a power play with a minute and a half left, your goalie pulled, it doesn't have the same oomph as if it were 2-1 and they get an empty netter. This one, I mean, Jacob Markstrom almost scored a goal at the end of this game. Tim Stützle had to bat it out of midair at center ice, and it was on line. We would have had 2 Swedish goalies score in 3 days. Shout out Philly franchise in Minnesota. But the Devils are a good team. There's a reason why
they are for sure.
Many people's favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference this year.
Mine.
But the team that they're playing tomorrow is a team that's come out of the Eastern Conference twice out of the last 4 or 5 seasons. So big test ahead for the Ottawa Senators. The question, will they have Linus Ullmark back? He just spoke to the media. We'll tell you what he said next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Guys, Prize Picks is the spot to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. So how it works, you pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You heard me right. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks puts the members first, so all the withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts and selects player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. And Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't? You make the picks with Prize Picks. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly with code LOCKEDONNHL after you play your first $5 lineup. And you got to check it out today, guys. It's Prize Picks. Run your game.
All right, Pilsy. So the Ottawa Senators are 2-2 in the early going of this regular season. Is it too early to give you a spin zone? Because I didn't want to do it in the first segment, but I do have something I want to say.
Well, Ross, if we're going by our 7-game playoff series projections here, being 2-2 when you've had 3 home games, not great if you're in the playoffs, so we got to turn that around. But I'm excited to hear the spin zone. Hit me.
Every single Atlantic Division team, except for the Tampa Bay Lightning, lost last night.
Okay, that's nice.
And they didn't just lose. The Montreal Canadiens lost 4-1 to the LA. They scored 1 goal on LA.
Yeah, that's...
Toronto had 6, Ottawa had 8. Montreal got 1 goal on the LA Kings last night. The Detroit Red Wings, and there is a bit of an asterisk, 2 of Detroit's first 4 games have been against the New York Rangers. That's a wagon.
Good team. Yep.
They lose 5-2 last night to the Rangers. And the Buffalo Sabres lost 6-4 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So
the Sabres are cooked. Jeez.
Well, let's not say that before Ottawa plays them in about 3 weeks.
Lots of time.
Philly loses in regulation. If you're looking at teams that could be in the wild card mix, they fall 6-4 to the Western Conference Seattle Kraken. So I know that there's also the side that's like, these are the games you have to win then to put yourself up the standings. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to lose, at least all your peers are losing too.
Yeah, which is nice, Ross. I feel like most of the time when we do scoreboard watching, it's like, this couldn't have gone worse for the Sens.
Yeah, well, it couldn't have gone worse for the Sens from the standpoint their starting goalies only played in 2 games so far this season. And Linus Ullmark was just asked after practice, our guy Alex Adams from Sportsnet, about returning to play. He says, quote, we're going to do an evaluation after today together with the medical team and see what the best course of action is, but to see what we're going to do going forward. If it means playing or backing up or sitting out tomorrow, I don't know yet. So the answer is there's no answer. I'll tell you one thing. There's no way you dress Linus Ullmark to back up tomorrow. He's either playing or he's sitting.
Yeah, like what's the point of that? Like either he's ready to go or he's not ready to go. Yeah, it never makes sense, Ross, to have a guy that's on the fringe of healthy backing up, especially when unfortunately your other goalie Forsberg, like how many times last year did he get yanked? Like that in his first game of the season, he got yanked. So I don't think that would be smart.
No. So that's the biggest question though right now, because Linus Ullmark has to be healthy and has to be ready to play for a long time. You don't just want him to come back for one game. And the Ottawa Senators, after tomorrow, they've got a stretch where, yes, they're on the road. Yes, they're traveling, but they've only got one game from Sunday to Friday. And that's Tuesday night in Utah. So they're off Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if it is something that could linger beyond, you just have to hope that you can get the same performance from Forsberg that you got at the end of last season against Tampa, where he was fantastic and helped Ottawa get 2 points.
Even if you get a similar performance as last night, Ross, like sure, you can nitpick a little bit, but allowing 3 goals to the Devils is not that bad.
On 35 shots, above 900 save percentage. You should win most nights when you're above 900.
Yeah, and like the Bastion goal, that's probably the one you want back because that's a clean look on a player that's not exactly an offensive powerhouse on shorthanded. You'd like Forsey to get that one, but overall, I thought he played well enough that at least the panic and the idea, and Ross, we were part of this, where you're like, okay, who's available as a free agent goalie? What are they going to do? We can calm that down a little bit.
It should be noted, though, that Ullmark was a full participant in practice today.
Yes.
Yesterday at the morning skate, and I know morning skates are a little bit different. It was an optional at that. They had 3 goalies on the ice. You want your starter to get all the rep, so it makes sense. So he was limited practicing with Sogard in one net. So this is a full practice, and that gives me some confidence that he could be ready to go tomorrow. They're going up against a goalie who's elite. It looks like Andrei Vasilevsky will start. If not, it's Jonas Johansson. We'll preview that game in the final segment. But for me, I would rather bite the bullet and lose this first 7-game series and then have Ullmark for 6 out of the next 7 games rather than potentially turn a strain into something that's more long-term.
Well, wait, if they lose up against Tampa, you're still in this one. It's 2-3 at that point.
Okay.
Come on. But yeah, I think it would make more sense to err on the side of caution. Obviously, it's tough that it's a home game up against a divisional rival. Those are the games you want to win. But if it means giving Ullmark a little bit more time and then he's good to go up against Utah, I think that is the play. Especially, do we know where the strain is? Did we get comfort? So, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. And Brandon Piller, not a doctor, but any sort of strain, if you go at it too early and you tweak it again, you've just set yourself back again. So if it means giving him a couple days off and rolling the dice with Forsberg on Saturday, I think that's the correct play.
Yeah, it's just saying a strain. I don't even think we have lower body or upper body at this point. There's a strain somewhere, and it's a strain on the fan base too right now, because we're just hoping and hoping that this guy can get back and play the way he did opening night against the Florida Panthers, where the Sens would be 1-3 if it weren't for the way he played on opening night.
Seriously. Oh, yeah.
And that's awfully close to 0-4, because did they deserve to win that game against LA? Maybe. I mean, they probably did. If Ullmark was there, they probably win that game handily. So,
big time. Yes.
Right? So it's kind of a catch-22 from that standpoint. The bottom line is, let's get Linus Ullmark back into the net for the Ottawa Senators, healthy, 100%, and ready to play almost every game after that.
Yeah.
The next opportunity will be Saturday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Then we've got the next game after that, Tuesday, 9:15 Eastern, the first ever Senators game in Utah, where they'll take on the hockey club.
They're taking on a hockey club. Hey, Ross, they're out there playing hockey up against a hockey club.
I'm just so used to being like, they're going to New Jersey to play the Devils. And I was like, they're going to Utah to play the hockey club. Okay, we'll preview the Lightning game after this and a whole lot more. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Gametime. Look, Ross talked about the crowd needing to be better at the CTC. Well, you could be a part of that with Gametime. Get your tickets for Saturday's matinee game up against the Tampa Bay Lightning on the best ticketing app. They got a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you're not wasting your time searching through thousands of other tickets. And if you like knowing what the price is right off the bat, no surprise fees at checkout, turn on the all-in pricing feature. You can get views from your seat, get the panoramic view from your seat so you know that the logo's facing the right way when you buy. Lowest price guarantee means Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time.
It's also time for a FanDuel ad. I've noticed that I've been doing all the FanDuel ads this week. I wonder if Pilsy's doing this on purpose. Today's episode's brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book, and you can start the NFL season with a big return on FanDuel. I love FanDuel for the NFL because all the games are happening at once. It's like, oh my goodness, here we go. And because of the great interface at the FanDuel website, you can also see live play-by-play, stats, scoring, and all that as the game is going on, and you can make your bets based on what you're seeing on the field.
You're betting on the Chargers?
I'm a big Chargers guy. I'm a big Jim Harbaugh guy. So you know what? This is an old school jersey, and we'll get to it because I realize it's a Bolts jersey. This is a bit of a faux pas potentially. Oops. But LaDainian Tomlinson, I mean, one of the best all time, right? Number 21. So
hey, and Ross, not to get off football, but we do have the odds for the Tampa Sens game. You want to hear them?
I do.
Sens money line -102 and Tampa is -118. The over-under set at 6.5.
So it is like right down the middle for this game. What will happen? Go have your say at FanDuel. And because you're a listener of the Locked On Senators podcast, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That is over at FanDuel.com. All right, Pilsy, we are just 24 hours away from an Ottawa Senators game.
Just hours a day later? I don't know if that
it's
applies.
not often we get the 1 o'clock start on the weekend. And by the way, fair. I know your family in Germany will be happy to hear this. Das game will be all over Europe tomorrow. Sens and Lightning.
Das is gut,
Yeah. Hopefully Das Hund will be back in goal. As if you saw our postcast after the home opener, Linus Ullmark is a dog. So that's a way to grow the game. They're trying to do that. Obviously, Tim Stützle front and center there. Don't know if the game will be on in Russia, but my goodness, Nikita Kucherov picked up right where he left off last season and the year before that and the year before that and the year before that. Good. Pretty good hockey player. But before we get to that, I'd like to apologize for wearing a jersey with a lightning bolt on it before a game with the Lightning.
Well, Ross, your spin zone is you're an Ottawa guy through and through. I think you've mentioned you love Ottawa before.
I love Ottawa.
This is just you cheering for the Ottawa Charge, right? Not the Chargers, it's the Charge.
C'est bon. That's just it. By the way, the PWHL schedule is out. It starts like mid to late November. So we're excited for that. Cool. Even though we clowned on the logo being pretty similar to the Calgary Flames, it's good hockey. It's downtown. And guess what? It's walking distance from the Glebe Central Pub.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't have to take the shuttle. Maybe we should get them to do a shuttle from the GCP to Lansdowne.
No, a parade. Hilarious. Come on, right down Bank Street.
A parade
you just go
from
great third. Too. Let's go. Absolutely. Stay tuned. We are going to try to do something with Men Over Stieg later on this season. A lot of great feedback from the episode with him. You can find that on Wednesday's episode of Locked On Senators. We take your team every day very seriously. The postcast is back after each and every Ottawa Senators game, including tomorrow, where I work from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the radio station. I come home, game's on. I might catch Dean and Gord for the first 10 minutes, and then we postcast right after the game. Cannot wait for that, Pilsy. I love a good matinee on the weekend. I really do.
It's nice. Yeah, especially, Ross, when the weather's not too cold out. Like, it's not like a full winter day. get your jersey on with a hoodie underneath, and you're set to go.
You certainly are. Can't wait for that. It's another home game. I don't know. Like I said, bring your two hands and put them together at this game. You know what? My spin zone, and I thought the anthem singer did a good job last night. Senators are 2-0 when Lyndon Sluage does the anthem this year. I'm just saying.
The analytics department needs to be on these stats. Get us at the games, get Shane Pinto scoring goals, and get Lyndon Sluage singing the anthem. It's simple.
So we talked about Shane Pinto's record, or the record when Shane Pinto has a point in his career. This year, they're 2-0 when he has a point. They're 0-2 when he doesn't.
That's not a coincidence. That's just hard facts, right?
And that was the stats department of Locked On Senators. Now let's get to our game day preview against the Tampa Bay Lightning, where we're not going to pull up the Senators lines from today because, well, simply, we didn't really get anything from practice. We already told you Thomas Chabot was missing. Shane Pinto was missing. I'm a little more nervous about that because he did not look himself last night. He was bobbling pucks and just not playing the way that we expect him to for the Ottawa Senators. But their lines for last night was Stützle, Tkachuk, Giroux, Norris, Gregor, Batherson, Pinto, Perron, Amadio, Gaudette, Cousins, and McEwen. The only line that I would say don't change is Gaudette, Cousins, McEwen. And I'm not even saying that as a joke.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think Gregor, Norris, and Batherson makes sense, but certainly, Ross, unfortunately, we thought that third line of Pinto with Perron and Amadio was going to be a lot better. They have not produced. Really, none of the free agents have produced much so far this year, which is unfortunate. And that leads me, if you'll allow it, Ross, to my locked on player for tomorrow's game. Oh, you're muted.
Just save it while I do the decor here. Jake Sanderson with Travis Hamonic, Thomas Chabot with Nick Jensen, Tyler Kleven with Jacob Bernard-Docker in goal. Anton Forsberg is going to dress, and then who knows whether it's Linus Ullmark or Matt Sogard. Pilsy, can I take my locked on player first? Just kidding. Go ahead.
I would have allowed it.
That's just the kind of guy you are.
Yes, exactly. My locked on player is going to be David Perron. This guy was brought in to bolster secondary scoring, to add some veteran leadership, add a little bit of grit and grime to a team that's trying to get a little greasier. And he hasn't done a whole lot. I think there was that he had one chance. I'm forgetting which game. It was a quick one-timer.
No, it was the home opener. It was a 2-on-1 Pinto to Perron. Or it wasn't a 2-on-1. I think it might have been in zone. Either way, it was a cross-ice feed, and he got all of it. It was just a good save by Bobrovsky.
Yep, that's the one. Thanks for remembering that one. But no points for David Perron so far, and he's a -3. I mean, but like, he's getting shots, Ross. He's already got 11 shots in 4 games. That's
18
not bad.
attempts.
Yeah, like
9 hits.
We need an emphatic play from him, and it'd be nice to see a goal scored from him. So David Perron, number 57, Ross, we got that figured out now. Pinto 12, David Perron 57 on the lineup card on Locked On Senators podcast. So I'm looking out, or locked on rather, to 57 David Perron.
I know giveaway, takeaways, very subjective stats. 4 giveaways, no takeaways. Last year, he had 12 giveaways all year in 76 games. He's already a third of the way there.
Wow.
Through 4 games this season. 0 takeaways. Last year, he had 31. The year before, 40. This guy's usually on top of things in the defensive zone. There is a bit of an adjustment period coming to a new team, but we're going to have to see him take a step forward. Part of me wants to go with Jake Sanderson, but that would be my Sens Central standout last night, my locked-on player before last game. So why don't I switch it up a little bit here? I'll go with Claude Giroux. You could tell in the third period, he was not happy with himself. He's very hard on himself. You can see it on the ice, and he was physical, and then he put pucks on net and got that primary assist. He was announced as the goal scorer in the rink, but they gave it to Brady Tkachuk, his first of the year, by the way. But Claude Giroux, to me, I said it jokingly 40 minutes into the postcast last night, but this legacy game for Claude Giroux, like jokes aside, it's a bounce back game for Claude Giroux. He has to be better. He knows it. He was great in the dot. He was like 70% in the dot. That's great. But offensively, if he's going to play with Tim Stützle, you got to keep up with Tim Stützle, or you have to put him in positions where he can use his speed a little bit better. So I'm looking for a crispier performance from Claude Giroux.
Now, you mentioned possibly switching up the lines. Would that be the first place you look at, is looking to put Giroux a little bit more down the lineup and trying to find someone that can match Timmy's speed on the right wing?
I just don't want what I'm about to say to be construed as a first, second, third line thing.
Okay.
But I would move Batherson with Pinto because they've had success together. Batherson to me was physical. He's had a good start to the season.
Yep.
So this is not moving him down the lineup. It's just putting him with different players, even to help get Perron going on the other side. So I'd go Pinto, Perron, Batherson as a line, and I'd go Norris, Gregor, Giroux as another. That moves Michael Amadio up with Stützle and Tkachuk. Amadio, to me, can use his speed and physicality to kind of hound pucks. I do think he has more to give than he's shown, but maybe getting him on a line with Timmy. I just need Timmy to play with someone a little bit faster on one of his wings. So
that's the thing.
And we talked about this in the postcast last night too. There's not a whole lot of speed up front for the Senators. Their fast players are Stützle, Norris, Gregor, Amadio. And you're not going to move Norris to wing. That narrative is come and gone. So is it Gregor? Probably not. So Amadio to me is the way that you can add more speed onto the Stützle line.
And also, Ross, I think it would be good to give Giroux a little bit less of, I don't want to say responsibility because he's a veteran guy that can handle it, obviously. But I think bumping him down the lineup a little bit will help him get things going.
The only thing that counteracts that is Giroux's taken all of Timmy's faceoffs. Tim Stützle took 4 faceoffs last night.
But Brady can take those draws.
Yeah, true. So far this season, Tim Stützle has won 5 faceoffs and lost 19.
Yeah. But I mean, you got to also acknowledge that he's going up, if he is taking draws, he's going up against other teams' top centers.
And Kopitar Barkov specifically in 2 of the first 3 games, 2 of the best faceoff guys in the league. But let us know in the comments. I'm curious what people think. How would you shake up this lineup, if at all? Or would you run it back for another game? They have not changed the lines except for moving Ridley Gregg down. And then obviously he got hurt and out of the lineup, and putting Noah Gregor up in that spot left wing on the second line. He was still using his speed last night, man. That guy can fly. It's noticeable in every single game. On the back end, though, I actually liked the Clevin JBD pair last night. I thought they were solid. Shabbat missing practice. That worries me because he left practice 2 days ago after colliding with JBD, or the morning skate rather, with JBD. So that to me is a bit of a worry. And then Sanderson just makes whoever he plays with look half decent. Hamonic actually had a couple big block shots in that game against the Devils, but 3 giveaways as well. You'd like that to be nipped in the bud. Now, that to say, they're going up against a team that's top heavy. So does that affect how Travis Green alters his lines? Maybe. Up front, this top line, you can put them up against any line in the league. Braden Point at center between Jake Gensel and Nikita Kucherov. Then you have Anthony Cirelli with Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul, who I heard does it all. Then you've got Connor Geekie. Connor Geekie, his brother Morgan plays for the Boston Bruins. Connor Geekie centering Mikey Asimont and Cam Atkinson. Then you have Luke Glendening with Zemgus Girgensons and Mitchell Chafee. On the back end, it's Victor Hedman with JJ Moser. It's Ryan McDonough with Eric Chernak. And Lilleberg is playing with Darren Radish. In goal, it's either the best or the worst in the league. It's Andrei Vasilevsky or it's Jonas Johansson. Pilsy, your lookout player to watch.
My lookout player to watch, Ross, is the player you have profiled in the picture here. It looks like he's giving Locked On Senators podcast a little fist bump there. So stick taps to Nikita Kucherov for that, number 86.
He actually looks like he's looking out, right? Eyes to the side.
Yeah. But Kucherov, this guy is an Ottawa Senators killer.
He's an NHL killer.
But Ross, more specifically, an Ottawa Senators killer. He has more points up against the Ottawa Senators than any other team in his entire career. Ross, in 35 games, he has 35 assists. So he's at a point per game, assists per game guy up against the Sens. But he's also got 13 goals. So 48 points in 35 games career-wise up against the Sens. And just like you mentioned, Ross, it's not just the Sens he beats up on. In 3 games this season, he has 6 goals and 1 assist, 7 points in 3 games, a +6, and he already has 16 shots. Like, this guy is really proving that, sure, losing Steven Stamkos is a big deal, but don't discount Nikita Kucherov. This guy's an absolute gamer when he wants to be.
Since COVID, only Connor McDavid has more points per game than Nikita Kucherov.
I bet not a lot of people would know that. I would have thought Draisaitl might have been right there with him.
McKinnon's next. It goes McDavid, Kucherov, McKinnon, Draisaitl, Panarin, Matthews, Rantanen, Marner, Pasternak. There's your top 10.
Wow.
Number 1 is actually Macklin Celebrini, 2 points in one game. But if you're actually putting in games played in the mix there, then yeah, number 2 since COVID. And we know that he's a Conn Smythe winner. He's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. You have to look out when Nikita Kucherov is on the ice. I'm going to go with the captain, the new captain, Victor Hedman, who it feels like there was like an analytical audit about Victor Hedman's career recently. He had that one season where he dropped from 85 points down to 49.
Okay.
He jumped right back up to 76 in 78 games last year. He's got 4 assists through 3 games this year, with 6 for Norris voting last year. Like, I think that the rumors of Victor Hedman's demise are far exaggerated. He is one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League, and I don't care what number you show me in a micro statistic to tell me otherwise. I'll look at the macro and I'll look at the results that he's been able to get as the number 1 defenseman on one of the consistently best teams in the National Hockey League. He's 6'6". He can hit. He can do it all. He's a Norris Trophy winner. You have to be aware when he's on the ice, and you'll see him a lot because he's averaging 23, 21 per game, among the highest in the National Hockey League.
Look at us, Ross. Nikita Kucherov and Victor Hedman as lookout players.
I'll give you another one if you want. I'll give you a pair. That McDonough-Chernak pair, you have to pressure them in their own zone. The one thing about them is having to make them make quick decisions. They're big, they're strong, and they can clear the crease. And Ottawa, I think one thing that I'm sure Travis Green is talking about is second and third chance opportunities. I don't think that over the course of the 4 games, they've had enough of those. Mm-hmm. So those are 2 guys that can clear the front of the net very, very effectively. So Ottawa has to do their best to break them, which is easier said than done, unless Chernak slips on a banana peel and Igor Sokolov takes one in and scores his only NHL goal. But those jokes aside, that's a very savvy pickup to get Ryan McDonough back in Tampa after a stint in Nashville. And that's a tougher decor than I think it looks like on paper. I'm also a big JJ Moser guy. Yep. He was thrust into the NHL early. He's already at like 200 career games, and he's still 23, 24. So they traded Sergachev in a big package to get both Moser and Connor Geekie too. So I'm curious to see how Ottawa can manipulate against a very solid top 4 defensive core in Tampa.
My key to victory, Ross, is
that one will be mine.
Okay.
Get second and third chance opportunities.
Okay. Honestly, you got to do everything you can to shut down Kucherov. Like, still, this team is still a good team, and they're well coached. So, they're going to play a good structured game. But, Ross, we were looking at it, and that bottom 6 is a lot of new faces, not a whole lot of experience apart from, well, I guess Atkinson and Gergensons, even Glendening have decent experience, but the other 3 are pretty young players. So the bottom 6 for the Ottawa Senators has to step up, and they have to find a way to dominate the other bottom 6 on Tampa. But for me, you got to put all defensive focus on shutting down Kucherov. Like he I don't even know if you can do it. It's one of those things where, like, obviously that's a guy you want to shut down, but I think you almost got to double team him here. And if other guys beat you, you just tip your cap and you're like, well, Brandon Hagel got one on you. Well done. But you got to be able to shut down Kucherov if you're going to have success.
And that's easier said than done. The Tampa Bay Lightning come in a perfect 3-0-0 on the season. Do they even have any overtime wins, or are they just straight up 3-0 in regulation?
They're just straight up 3-0 in regulation.
Yes, they are. They've got
12
goals
4-1 and 4-3.
12 goals for and only 5 against.
Yeah.
That's a real good hockey team you're going up against. But look, they just went up against a real good team, and there's more to come next week. Next Friday, they've got Vegas. Next Sunday, sorry, not this upcoming Sunday, the one after the 27th, they've got the Colorado Avalanche. So no disrespect to Utah on Tuesday, who's also had a pretty good start to the season. But you need to be able to beat good teams to even be in the mix to make the playoffs. So that's what Ottawa is going to have to go up against on Saturday afternoon. We will see you in the postcast as well. Travis Green speaking to the media. And don't you love when the coach reinforces what your takes are? The quote is, sometimes you play well and lose. So he agrees the process was good overall against the New Jersey Devils. He also said, like Ullmark said, we mentioned the second segment, he says they'll make a decision either later tonight or tomorrow morning on where Linus Ullmark's future in the immediate one goes. We talked about Alfie joining line rushes. Travis Green said, I saw the way Alfie was breathing after the one drill. He wasn't talking to me. So I don't know if Alfie's going to get that jersey anytime soon.
But give him, third, fourth line minutes and put him on the power play.
That is so funny. Hey, at least there's still that sense of humor, and you need that. You can't all tighten up after being able to get a couple losses, and they've alternated wins and losses so far this season. Win, loss, win, loss. It's all about in this league not losing 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Ross, rare occurrence. I have a final thought. I know usually you ask me this every episode, and I'm baffled and surprised by the question every time, and I'm scrambling, but this time I came prepared. You talked about getting loud, taking two hands, putting them together. Well, let's see people do that at CAA Arena tomorrow, Ross. It is the Belleville Senators home opener up against the Utica Comets. So if you're in the Bay of Quinte area, or even if you're not, if you're in the Ottawa area, make the road trip to Belleville. It's a nice drive this time of year. Great foliage on the trees. Enjoy the drive and enjoy Belleville Senators hockey. Let's get them a big win to start their season off at home.
Should you put your two hands together at that game too? Bring your two hands?
That's what I was saying. Yeah, bring them, clap them.
Love that. And hey, we're rooting for Belleville to have a big year. They got the 3 to 4 points on the road, and now let's make sure that the fans appreciate the fact they're spending a ton more money than they have in the past down there. They expect to be a good team.
Ross, this team hasn't played in a week, though, so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah, it will. My final piece of information, per Travis Green, Thomas Chabot, Shane Pinto, both maintenance days, both are expected to play tomorrow. For today, we say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching, listening, commenting, and reviewing the show. We have noticed there's been a big uptake in Apple podcast reviews. You just go to Apple, scroll down, write a review. Goes a long way to helping the show grow. We'll talk to you in the postcast tomorrow. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.